Bonjour. Hello. Welcome back to Elden Ring Nightreign. Here, we're heading right into an expedition. And at this point, I'd figured I don't know how an expedition is going to go when jumping in. And I don't want to show every single expedition. So I thought it would be better to do an expedition, see if I like it or not in terms of uploading. And then if I do, then I would do something at the round table hold afterwards. And I thought that was a good system. So that's what we're going to be doing from now on. Expedition first. If I like it, I'll continue on. If not, I just won't upload it. But here, we got Super Giga Chad and Juicebox. And I was thankfully allowed to play my beautiful Iron Eye. And I do have a relic that gives my starting armament poison buildup, which is very nice. And here I saw a bow. That kind of excited me. He picked that one up and I went, yeah, great bow, why not? I've never used great bows, never been a fan of them. But with infinite ammo, figured it might be worth a try. Now here, two teammates went in opposite directions, or different directions at least. And while normally I would go with the recluse, because they're more likely to die, I liked where the wilder was going more. So I decided to go with them. And here, every single shot of the great bow knocks down the Oracle envoys. So that's pretty cool. I was pretty happy with that. And we get this Red Branch short bow. It had some more damage to it, and it adds Holy. And the final boss here, Gladius, they're weak to Holy, so I thought that might be good. And here, Super Giga Chad here placed down the pin to bring us here. So I figured they're gonna lead, and while I can lead if I have to, I prefer to not. Like, if someone else is willing to take charge, I am very happy to just follow them. And so I just kind of sat there waiting for him to put the next ping until we make it to this cave. Now, at the time, I wasn't sure, and even now, I'm still not entirely sure on how to navigate these places in Nightreign. I know how to do it in base Elden Ring, but in Nightreign, I'm not sure. But I kind of wanted to learn, which is why I ran ahead. And as you can see there, Juicebox died. The recluse. And because I'm not a big fan of the caves, and because Juicebox died, I was kind of going, might have been better to go with recluse instead. Here, popped ult. It worked very well. And at first, I wasn't too sure about Iron Eye's ult. I wasn't a big fan of it. But now, I think it's my favorite. So, that is pretty nice. But here, just wanted to keep moving. Just wanted to keep getting kills, getting runes. And probably should have stuck with Super Giga Chad, because, as I said before, I don't know how to navigate the tunnels in Nightreign. But I knew that you had to be fast in this game. I knew that you can't just stand around. You don't have that kind of time. Especially when you're in kind of the outer part of the map. You really don't have that kind of leisure. And there, Juice Box went down again. And at this point, because I wasn't doing super well, and because one of our team members died twice already, and we were all separated, I wasn't feeling too confident, but I'm not the type of person who just quits a game or just throws if I think that we're going to lose. If I think we're gonna lose, I don't throw, I just don't try hard. But I'll continue to do my job. And I'll continue to try to put some effort into the team. Try to add some value. But here, I can see he was making pings on the church. And the church gets you an extra flask charge. And I was definitely willing to go after that. And that brought me and Super Giga Chad back together. So I wasn't alone anymore. He wasn't alone anymore. We could watch each other's backs once more. And while I can typically hold my own, it's still nice to have someone who's got your back. And as someone who tends to be fairly cooperative, I like having my teammates back. And here, I'd ult again, saw a ton of enemies, and I decided to go for it. And I decided to pull out the Great Bow again to see what it could do, and was knocking the enemies down. And even though the damage isn't super great, I figured could be good. And I was trying to look at this enemy, but for some reason, the game just would not let me, like, move the target that I was aiming at, or locked onto. And you may see me opening my map once or twice. That's because I just wanted to make sure the fire didn't get us. Wanted to make sure we had enough time. And there you can see the fire creeping in towards us near the end. And there's one more enemy way off in the back that I think got too far away and teleported. But we got him, and we decided to do a little risky play. I figured 10,000 runes is a lot better than the other option. And here I saw a jump, decided to go for that. Smacked my head against that when I'm not gonna take another jump there. So I'll just run over here. And tried another jump, saw that he pinged that way. Missed again. And at this point I was a little embarrassed. But he pinged in the other direction, like on the other side of the ravine. And I figured, okay, we'll go that way. And third time's the charm. Finally, eventually made it up. And here I saw that the third person, Juice Box, who we like hadn't seen since the first enemies, was finally returned with us. We were finally together as a full squad of 3. And if you couldn't tell by now, this was me playing alone with 2 randoms. Saw that, decided to pick it up, just because why not. And I moved it onto that slot. just because having 2 weapons in our right hand and 2 on our left seems better than 3 in our right and 1 in the left. But there, the boss of this section is a battle mage, but there's more than one battle mage acting as the boss. And so we have to find the other one to take out the other half of the health bar. And you may recognize this area because I went through here, but just didn't fight the bosses because I was alone. There, I picked up a staff because I figured, why not? There, saw that enemy was going after him, but I wanted him to focus on the boss, so I went after them. And here, composite bow adds magic to weapon, and it's got good damage. So I was looking at the damage, but it's only 2 higher than the other one, so I decided to go with stamina. And level up. Wilder's Greatsword, not good for us. And I decided to just rearrange things a little bit, because I had my poison bow on the right, and I wanted to keep that out as much as possible. And there I just quickly looked to make sure that I knew where everything was, so that way I wouldn't accidentally swap to the wrong thing in the middle of a fight. But here, the night grows closer, so we move forward. That giant glowing ethereal tree is where we need to end the night. But we still have time. Not a ton of time, but we still have some time. So we don't have to go for the tree right away. And putting off the tree as long as possible without ending up in the fire is what you want to do. You want to continue moving, continue making progress, continue fighting enemies, finding and killing bosses as much as possible for as long as possible. So that way you can get the most amount of chances for a weapon, most amount of upgrades, most amount of runes, so on and so forth. And here at the top of this castle, there's a boss. And here, I was kind of wondering where Juicebox was, but didn't really have time to worry about it because we were killing a boss. And over here there's a chest with some stuff in it. Grabbed an Exalted Flesh. Decided that wasn't worth it. Checked that. Figured not worth it. Neither of those options seemed good. And the fire was there, so I just didn't pick anything up, and I booked it. Now, some people will say that you should just pick up as many things as you have until you have 6 weapons. And there's the fort, but we didn't really have time. But some people will say you should just pick up 6 weapons, no matter what they are, and then worry about what's actually good for your character and what the secondary effects are after you picked up 6 weapons. And I'm not gonna claim to be an expert on this game. As of the time of doing this voice recording, I've killed 2 Night Lords. So, definitely not an expert. But the approach that I've been taking is just only pick up what is actually useful to me. Because if I pick up 6 weapons and then start looking at secondary effects after that, then I'll have to look through 6 weapons that are mostly not useful in order to figure out what's the best for me. But if I only pick up what's useful to me, then I won't have to spend any time doing that. And that'll save me a little bit of time. And while that might mean that I don't get a 4% bonus on jumping attacks, I think the time saved is worth it. And as you can see there, I'm using my starting bow to inflict poison, and then swapping to the other bow that does more damage. And they're doing that attack, or that, using that ability, puts like a little symbol on the enemies that it touches, and that makes them take more damage, I think. They decided to use it that just because I could, because we're going to get a Sight of Grace after beating the boss, and that'll get me all my FP back. So I figured I can use some sorceries. And with that, the Bell-Bearing Hunter dies. And the top two are completely useless to me. But longer invincibility windows, that can be useful. And here, you want to go into Night 1 at roughly level 7. And here, I know I was taking damage from being inside the Ring of Fire, but I knew that I could survive it, and making it to a church like this, that will get you an extra flash charge and will restore all of your health. So I saw that as being worth it, because it makes you just a little bit more efficient. There, he has a ping, and so figured we can go for that. And you may notice my character is being jittery. I play with a controller on PC, and sometimes that just happens. Though, it only really happens on FromSoft games, and I'm not sure why. Because I play some other games on console, and it just doesn't happen. And I play some games with a controller on PC, and when they're not FromSoft games, I just don't have that issue. But here, could fight all the enemies, but at this point I learned that it's better to just run straight to the top, ignore all the enemies, and go straight for the boss, because that's just the most efficient way to do things. And the enemies, for the most part, will just ignore you. You might get one or two enemies showing up right at the very end of the boss fight, but that's it. And here, I was doing this alone, but I was able to easily take down the Guardian Golem. Here I saw that this bow does 2 more damage, but so I decided to go with that. And I was looking at these, and I figured out what I wanted, the order that I wanted things. And then from there, we see the next ping, and we go for it. And I was looking at this and thought, I could probably, like, I'm not gonna use all 3 of those weapons, so I could probably drop it, but it might be good to have a melee option just in case. And I saw that Ulcerated Tree Spirit, and I thought we were going for that, but he went for this Everjail instead. And again, I have a relic that gives my starting armament poison, so I use my starting armament to poison the boss, and then I move over to the other bow that does more damage. The poison isn't crazy good, it's not overpowered, but it just adds a little bit of chip damage. that can help make fights go by just a bit faster. And then I use my hook claw thing to give him the symbol that makes him take more damage. And with that, pretty easily, that Godskin Apostle goes down. Examine this. And both of these seem pretty good, but I thought 20,000 runes is better. And then from there, I figured I want to go after this boss, but you could see that I hesitated because I wasn't sure if Super Giga Chad wanted to go after him. But once I saw him running after the boss, we went into it. And there I poison him, and so I swap over to the more damaging bow. And here just constantly applying pressure, constantly doing damage, while still keeping myself from being hit. Like, you want to do as much damage as you can, without putting yourself in a position where you run out of stamina or are stuck in an animation. And that's a balance that you have to find. And you can see a few moments ago I opened up the map, and that was just to see where the circle of fire was, to see if we had enough time to actually fight the boss. Tried doing it there again, and I wanted to open the map and continue firing, but I couldn't do that, which is why I was swapping menus for a quick moment. But here, like I said, just keep firing, do as much damage as I can, as quickly as I can, while still being safe. Pop the ult. And hit the boss with that so they take a bit more damage. And teammate went down. And as you can see, I'm kind of slowly moving my way towards the teammate, while still putting damage in. There, revive them. We brought the boss down. We can examine this. And Devour Scepter. That was a gold weapon. And they got me the achievement Legendary Armament, which was pretty neat. I could have gotten that before in a previous run, but I didn't know that was an achievement at the time. And I would rather... Like, I was in a position where a teammate could have used the weapon better. So, didn't get it back then, but I got it here. So it all worked out. But with that boss dead, we continue running forward, making our way away from the Ring of Fire and group of enemies that he wanted to fight. Personally, I would have skipped them because we're on day 2, and random trash mobs like this, while they're definitely worth it on day 1, they're not nearly as worth it on day 2, I'd say. But I'm also just not going to abandon my teammate. So, if my teammate wants to fight some enemies, I'll help him with that. But here, I actually didn't want to lock on to the Leonine Misbegotten. I wanted to lock on to a different enemy, but the game said no. And here we're in the Circle of Fire. But I figured we can survive it. And we did. The reward wasn't as good as I had hoped, but it wasn't terrible. And then we land here at this church. We add a flask to our charge, or a charge to our flask, rather. And then we keep on moving. And I picked up the Starlight Shard mostly for the Recluse, because I don't really use that much FP, but for Recluse, especially against Gladius, it would be nice. There I saw a Site of Grace, figured I could hit that to get all my health back, my flask back, maybe level up. So did that before continuing to run forward. And there, we see some enemies. Super Giga Chad wanted to go after him. And personally, I wasn't a big fan of that. However, something important to accept is that if I'm not going to take charge, then I don't dictate where we go. And if I want to dictate where we go, then I have to be the one to take charge. And I didn't want to do that, so here we were. And that giant is dead, and despite them being a mini-boss instead of a full-blown boss, they still dropped a boss thing. And we got more damage negation from that one. And there were more giants here. The reason why I didn't want to go here is because I didn't think they would drop. Like, I didn't think every single one would drop a thing. There, hit them with the bill hook, so they take extra damage. And they go down. Here, neither of these are really good. Really just didn't seem worth it, so I just ended up skipping it entirely. Very much not ideal, but it is what it is. You can't win them all. And here we continue moving forward. I definitely could have been faster. I definitely could have just moved ahead, but small mistake on my part. Here, as I've been doing this entire expedition up to this point, with big enemies and bosses, use the poison bow to poison them, and then I swap over to the damaging bow. And something cool about Elden Ring Nightreign, here, boost physical attack by 6% is nice. Here, I wasn't sure on where to go. And then I saw this and went, ah, that's where we go. Okay, so moving forward. But something nice about Nightreign is you don't need to you don't need to two-hand a bow in order to actually fire it. You can have a bow in a left hand and a bow in a right hand, and then just press R1 to shoot the bow in your right hand, and then you'll automatically pull out the left bow again. And then you can press L1 and you'll shoot the left bow, and then you'll automatically pull out the right bow again, which makes it so much better for using multiple bows. There, maximum stamina, and the fire is here, so we gotta go. But yeah, that's a small design change they made, but it made bows so much more usable, and it really fits with the design philosophy of Nightreign. And so that's something I just like to point out from time to time, because it is very, very nice. And there, as you can see, Juicebox died once more. And because of the Ring of Fire, we couldn't do anything about that. We just had to keep running forward. That was unfortunate, but it is what it is. We continue moving forward. Like I said, on day 2, trash mobs mostly aren't worth it, but we had nothing else to do because of the Ring of Fire, and if it's either trash mobs or nothing, nothing is better. And here, there's an Elder Lion boss. And decided, since we're here, might as well go for him. And I poisoned him, and after poisoning him, move over to the higher damage bow, and I was worried about not being able to take out the boss fast enough. And I decided to do a risky play. I saw the boss was running after me, and instead of trying to kill the boss, I just booked it. That made the boss chase after us, and brought him closer into the safe area. And so it was a risky play, but it worked out. And here, the Ring of Fire is getting to the very end. And again, we can either sit around doing nothing, or we can kill a few trash mobs. And I figured trash mob is better, because at least it's something. And then here, poison bow, then damage bow. And I'm so glad that I got that relic that adds poison to your starting armament, and that it was compatible with Iron Eye. Because without that relic, I don't know if I'd be playing Iron Eye as much as I am. That being said, because I've beaten 2 Night Lords at this point, I do want to branch out a bit. But yeah, here, popped our ult right at the beginning of the fight, and was able to hit all 3 enemies, which is nice. And here, I wanted to go with Super Giga Chad and just laser focusing this enemy, so that way we could just burst him down as fast as possible. And then, because of that, instead of having to deal with 3 enemies, we could just deal with 2. Here, I noticed that Juice Box went down, and so I decided to go for him. And Iron Eye is surprisingly good for reviving teammates, which is another reason why I like Iron Eye so much. But after getting Juice Box up, yeah, I'm not entirely sure what Tree Sentinel was doing there. Just kind of standing around, letting us wail on him. But Super Giga Chad took out the other Royal Cavalryman. I poisoned the Tree Sentinel, and so was able to swap over the damaging bow. And I figured Tree Sentinel probably has pretty decent fully damage negation, so I swapped over to the non-fully damaging bow to see if that would do better. And because I can see the damage that both my teammates are doing as well, I didn't see what was doing better damage, but I decided to just stick with what I thought would probably be better, which was the non-holy one for this boss. And thankfully, pretty easy Night 2 boss as the Tree Sentinel goes down. One final reward. All 3 of these are good. And I got the Replenished Sacred Flasks achievement. Decided to go with more damage, because that felt like the best of the 3. Even though all 3 were pretty good. But yeah, another achievement relating to flasks. So that was pretty nice. And then day 3. Pop as many levels as we could get. And we had just 5,000 runes remaining. So killing those trash mobs was definitely worth it, I'd say. Though I didn't have enough runes to buy anything besides one of those, but I don't use that, so I dropped it just in case a teammate wants it. And yeah, I dropped a Starlight Shard for the Recluse for Juice Box, because remember, there are no blue flasks. There's just the orange flask for healing. Meaning, once once Recluse runs out of FP, that's kind of it. And since they're a spellcaster, you really want those Starlight Shards. And so if I can pick up any, I definitely will, so I can drop them for our Recluse. Because Recluse is part of the team, they're a teammate, and I want my teammates to be useful, just as my teammates probably want me to be useful. And part of making your teammates useful is helping to set them up for success. So dropping Starlight Shards for your Recluse, that's part of that. But here, we head through the door, and the reservations I had at the beginning had been washed away. These teammates, even though Juicebox went down 3 times, teammates were doing good. I was very happy with them. And because they were doing well, I was feeling not like this was a guaranteed win, but I felt like this was probably our best shot up to this point. Maybe our second best shot. And yeah, this was only like my 5th or 6th expedition, but I was definitely ready to kill Gladius at this point. And there I used the character skill both to get away from Gladius and to put the mark on them so they take extra damage, which was very nice. And there we put, like, since we have the mark on them, they're taking more damage, and because we poison them, we can swap over to the other damaging bow. And this one does Holy. And I do believe that Gladius is weak to Holy. And here I decided to back up just to see which one would go after me. And it was to all 3, which is kinda terrifying. Especially considering I'm a ranged character and have no shield. But I decided to back up just to see which one would go after me. That one looked like the most likely. They were not the most likely. So mistake on my part, because they went after Recluse. But there, as you can see, they've got like a golden thing around them. And their Juicebox had low health, so I was shooting them just to try to get them away from Juicebox. It didn't work, but I was thankfully able to revive Juicebox, and I was able to get away. And I figured, this boss is really on my tail, so I'm just gonna pop him in the face with my ult, and hopefully that'll teach him to back off. There, decided to drop a Warming Stone. They don't take any FP in Nightreign, thankfully, and that allows me to stand there, bask in its warmth, get my health back, shoot my bow. And I will say, at the time of uploading, there's been an update, but at the time of the gameplay recording, there wasn't an update yet. It was just, like, it was the same update that the game came out. And I don't remember what the update did, but it fixed some things. I think it mentioned something about fixing, like, bow range or bow damage at range. And so, it's important to remember that this is before that update. This was, like, 1.1, I think it was called. But yeah, just continuing to try to put in damage without putting myself in a position where I get hit, either due to being out of stamina or being in the middle of an animation. So just be as aggressive as I can, while still being as safe as I can. That being said, it doesn't really work out if I miss time and dodge pretty horribly. And because I went down, I decided to start crawling towards Recluse, since the boss wasn't looking at Recluse. And thankfully, they were able to bring me back up. And there, I was going to put myself in a position where I could ult both the boss and Juice Box, but Super Giga Chad did it before I could. And here, very unfortunate, where I just got kind of ping-ponged between the three different ones. But thankfully I was able to survive. Here, I just went, okay, ult time. Hit the boss and Juice Box. And they're shooting the boss. I was trying to shoot Juice Box, but the game just really didn't want to let me swap targets. I'm not sure why, but the game just doesn't like when I try to swap targets. But here, again, that was me trying to go for Juice Box. But here, I figured, okay, going after Juice Box isn't worth it. It'll take too long to revive them. There's too much aggro on me. And there, once again, I just mistimed the dodge. And here I was very nervous because 2 people down, Gladius at 1 HP. I've been in this situation a few times at this point, and it never worked out. But here it did. Super Giga Chad pulled through. And here, decide to pop this gesture, the pre-order one, while getting the achievement for beating Gladius. And we got the Trace of Night. With that being said, massive W to Juicebox and Super Giga Chad. Since first time beating Gladius and it was with them. Here we got Trace of Night, the qualities of a Night Lord. Not sure what that does just yet. But here, treasure marked upon map, kinda nice. Permanently increased damage for each Everjail prisoner defeated, that's kinda nice. Strength +3, kinda nice. Fire damage negation up, kinda nice. That one we can sell. Dexterity +3. And treasure marked upon map is kinda nice. And Wilder's art spreads fire. Starting armament deals fire damage. And that's Night of the Beast. Both of those things are actually pretty nice. And then we also got Merc on top of that. But that final one, that wasn't a normal relic. That stood out a bit. Kind of like the pocket watch. Oh, I wasn't sure if that would do anything special. But here, we get a cutscene.
The night has been vanquished. After an age of struggle. This is a fine achievement for which I am grateful. Indeed, a promising first step. However, the Night Lord yet lives. There are others. Too many, I am afraid. It is not yet clear what this means, but that beast left a trace. And I believe with traces enough, the parts will begin to resemble a whole. As such, our purpose remains unchanged. Stay the path and vanquish our foes. I pray for your success.
Here we get when the earth shifts, which just, it adds certain other areas to Limveld, like a lava section, along with some others. The lava section is the main one. I believe it's the only one that I've seen up to this point, which is pretty cool.
What is it? I will do my utmost to aid you.
Show her the old pocket watch.
Is that? I'm sorry, but that's the timepiece I misplaced. Could I trouble you to have it back? I see. How unfortunate. I cannot force you, but I am patient.
That was just kind of a knee-jerk reaction on my part, because I have it, and dexterity +3, and the other one was kind of good.
What is it? Won't you please part with the pocket watch?
But I decided to give it, just to see. And it got us a cutscene.
Thank you. I've had quite enough of all the ceremony. Now I'm ready to get my hands dirty. We'll slay this Night Lord yet.
And that got us. The Duchess joined us the fray. And we can now play as the Duchess. And at first I was super excited. Then I remembered, wait, in the beginning she said that she has no way of helping us fight. But she lied.
We must prepare for the next battle. What is it? You can tell me. If you ever find yourself at your wit's end, just remember, the sun will rise again. The wheel does not cease to turn.
But that cutscene and reveal was just so cool that it was worth it. And I was kind of yelling at her about how I don't worship the sun, I worship the moon. But here, we get goblets for all of the different characters, and they just get you different relic colors so you can mix and match a bit. And that's pretty cool. We also got a lot more gestures, which I think is very nice. We also got 2 more prattling pates, which is pretty nice, and some more guaranteed relics. And they're not crazy good, but they're kind of neat. Some of them are decent. And then we got the besmirched frame, which is another very notable, unique one that doesn't look like the other relics. Kind of like the old pocket watch, so I wondered what that was about, but I figured we'll deal with that another time. For now, I'm just super glad that I beat Gladius.